Hello everyone, Rachel here. I hope you're all having a good day. This is my first ever live on IVTV Kids and I am so excited because I have Yussef Rafik going to be showing us some incredible little reptiles and giving us some facts as well. So welcome if you have just joined. I was just saying that we are going to have Yussef Rafik joining us today to talk all things reptiles. I am Rachel. I am the crazy lady behind IVTV Kids, and this is my first ever Instagram live on here, so very excited. So, I'll wait a couple more moments and we'll wait for Yussef to come in, but do let me know if you're here, give me a wave, say hi, and if you're watching this on catch up, then always give me a little comment below as well. I'm sure I'll be there ready to reply. So let's just see if we can get Yussef in. Here we go. This is the part that it gets you, doesn't it? Like, is someone going to come and join me? We'll give him 2 more minutes. I think he's coming now. I did go on quite quickly, actually. Here he is. Hey, Yussef. Okay, let me add him in. Ready? Very exciting. Da, 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 da. Oh my goodness.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? You have a snake around your neck.
Yeah. So this is Blaze.
Hi,
Blaze is a royal
Blaze.
python.
A
So
royal python. I mean, that is an entrance, what you just did there.
yeah, I thought I'd come in strong.
Wow. And how long is he?
Well, she's a female. She's
Oh,
about
sorry.
4 foot. I will show you. So she can grow a little bit bigger. They normally get to about 5 foot as an adult. But she's about 6 years old. So yeah, she's about sort of, I guess the equivalent would be a teenager.
Okay. And what's their lifespan then? How long will she live for?
It varies, but they can live up to about 20 years.
Okay, that's
So
quite a long time.
quite a long time, yeah. And she's of course an albino, which is why she's this colour, because normally they're brown. But she's this beautiful yellow and white colour with red eyes.
She is very pretty. I actually quite like snakes. I'd be fine to have a snake around my neck.
Yeah, and they're quite nice. It kind of feels like you're having a massage.
Oh, really?
Quite like it, yeah.
That's handy when everything's closed at the moment.
It is, yeah.
Just
Very
pick up
handy.
your snake for a little massage.
Yeah, very handy.
Well, everybody, this is Yussef Rafik, and can you just give us a little introduction about who you are, what you do?
Yeah, so like you say, I'm Yussef Rafik. I'm a zoologist and a wildlife presenter. So I've done a few shows about different things like bugs. And yeah, I just love animals. So hence the snake.
Absolutely. And have you always loved animals?
Yeah, ever since I can remember, I was always the weird kid in the playground at school, digging for worms, and that kind of just escalated. So yeah, I've always loved animals.
I was definitely one of those kids who collected ladybirds and put them in jars.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Rummaging around the garden to find as many as possible.
Yeah, I still do it now. It's still fun.
Exactly. Okay, cool. So, is there any animal that you would say that you've come across in your time from since you've been younger to now that you've been quite scared of?
I think spiders for me are the big one. I am getting better. So when I was a really young kid, I was fine with spiders. And then I think it's one of those fears that you learn. So I think it probably came from my mum, and she sort of doesn't like them either. So yeah, I was kind of terrified of spiders for quite a while, and I still am to a certain extent because they're quite creepy looking. But they are really important to the ecosystem. So I've tried to learn to love them a little bit.
I need to learn to love them too.
Yeah, it's hard. It is hard. They look very weird.
They do, yeah. And there's always, I think that with films and anything on the TV that we watch, they're always portrayed as this like scary animal.
Exactly, yeah. And snakes as well to some extent.
Yeah,
So
that's true. Yeah. So you have quite a few pets, do you?
I do, yeah. I've got 4 of these snakes. I've got a couple of geckos. I used to have some stick insects, but they didn't live very long, unfortunately. And then I've got a dog as well.
Well, and you said you used to work in a zoo.
Yeah.
Did you is that was that your first job?
Yeah, that was my first job out of uni. So I went to uni to do zoology, and then worked in a zoo. And so that zoo, it was quite a small zoo, but a lot of the animals there were rescued from the pet trade. So some people have pets like raccoons and meerkats, which don't really make very good pets. And then they realise this eventually, and they give them to this zoo. So, but it meant I got to work with some pretty cool animals. So I was quite
Yeah.
lucky.
What was your favourite animal to work with at the zoo?
Um, I'm a bit biased, but there was a skunk named Flower, and she was really sweet. And you don't really think it of a skunk because you think they smell. But she never sprayed on me. She was really sweet. She used to cuddle me. So
Oh,
yeah, yeah. But she was a bit of an old lady. She was 9 years old, which is quite old for a skunk.
I don't think I've ever seen a real life skunk.
Maybe not. They're quite cool. If you get the opportunity, cuddle one. Yeah,
Knowing my luck, I'm sure they would spray.
yeah, maybe.
If you had like a spirit animal,
Hmm.
if you felt that you were a spirit animal, what would it be?
Oh, that's a hard one.
It is fun.
Maybe some kind of bird. I like the idea of like flying and being free. Maybe an eagle. Nobody wants to be like a blackbird, do they? So yeah, maybe like an eagle.
Yeah,
Or I quite like penguins as well, just because they're so funny, but they
yeah.
don't fly. So maybe that's a flaw. Um, I'm gonna go with eagle.
Eagle. That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Swooping over the world. I've got a question here. Are the snakes rescued in your home?
Some of them are, yeah. I got so this one is she's a rescue. I got my first one when I was about 14. So I did have a couple that weren't rescues. Now I wouldn't advise it. I'd always say get a rescue because there's just like dogs. There's always loads of snakes and lizards and all sorts of reptiles that do need homes. So if you're thinking about getting one, I would definitely say rescue, just to give them a home.
And whereabouts would you be able to find somewhere that if you are looking for a snake, or a reptile in general, is there a specific pet store for those?
There are some. So you can just if you Google it, there's some specific reptile rescue centres. Also, I'm pretty sure even places like Pets at Home have a little rescue corner.
All right.
Um, Not that I'm really advertising Pets at Home. I'm not sure they're the best place to get a pet. And then just look on it. This, even if you don't go to a rescue centre, there's always people looking to rehome their animals because, like I said before, they do live a very long time. And if you've not done your research, a lot of people don't really realise all the care that needs to be taken for them
Yeah.
because they do eat frozen rats, which a lot of people don't really like. But if you do, they're worth it.
Yes. Yeah. My brother-in-law has a snake, and he
Okay.
kindly sent me a video yesterday of it eating a little mouse,
Oh no.
which is lovely. I mean, for the snake.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for the
yes.
snake, not for the mouse.
So I want to know a little bit more about your snakes. So a lot of people say that they feel, well, they're portrayed as quite slimy, but how do snakes actually feel?
So they're not slimy at all. They're dry. They're not. They don't feel wet or slimy. I'll see if I can show you, but they're actually covered in scales. So the best place to see this is the belly. So can you see all those scales on the belly? So they feel very soft, very smooth. And like I said before, it's kind of like a massage in your hand. So it's actually quite nice. I really like holding them. They're not slimy at all.
No, that is, well, I have held a snake before, and I was really surprised at how it felt.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that made me like them more because I was expecting them to be like, oh, that kind of feeling,
Yeah.
but it wasn't.
I think a lot of people get confused, or they think they feel a bit like a frog, or because amphibians, of course, they are slimy. But
Yeah,
snakes are obviously reptiles; they're a different family, and they're
yeah.
not slimy at all.
So they do shed their skin, don't they? Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So basically, they're pretty weird in that sense, but they every few months or so, they shed their entire. Actually, getting a bit restless. They shed their entire length of their body of skin. So I do actually have a skin if you would like to see it.
Yeah, let's have a look. Let
Obviously,
her go down if she's
I
getting
think
a
she'll be
bit.
right there. She just likes to wrap herself around my neck. So we've got a skin here. This
Oh,
isn't from her, this
wow.
is from another one. But as you can see, it's very, very long.
Oh my
And
goodness.
we'll start this. So a little bit did actually snap off, but that's the tail end.
Oh yeah.
And then, so it's the full length of the body. So it goes all the way down, right down to the head end. And you might be able to see there,
Oh yes.
there's the eyes.
So that literally comes off as a whole skin.
Comes off as a whole skin. Sometimes they will do it in pieces, so you might not always get a full skin. They like it to be nice and humid when they're shedding, so that they can shed their full skin. But yeah, the whole length of the body will come off, and then they'll have a fresh skin underneath. And
is it a different colour, or is it in a shade of colour?
it can. So when it sheds, it goes a cloudy colour. So you can always tell when they're in shed because they lose their colour a little bit, and their eyes go blue. And then when they come out of the shed, they're the same colours. They don't really change colour. Although sometimes babies will be a different colour to the adults. So there's a species called a green tree python that are born bright red, and then as they age, they turn green. But normally that doesn't happen overnight. That happens gradually.
Yeah, that's incredible. And most reptiles lay eggs, don't they?
They do, yeah.
Nearly all reptiles. That was one of my facts this week on my story. So how does it work for snakes then? What's their cycle there?
So like you say, a lot of them do lay eggs. There are some that don't. So royal pythons do. So this is a female. So her belly will be full of eggs. They normally lay about 8 eggs on average. And then after about 1 or 2 months, I think it is, they will lay the eggs and they will wrap their bodies around the eggs to keep them warm. And reptile eggs aren't like chicken eggs, which, as I'm sure you know, have got a hard shell. They're actually very soft and leathery. So I've got a gecko egg. I'll show you in a minute when I get the gecko out. But they're not hard at all. They're very soft and leathery. And the snakes will actually, when they wrap around them, all the eggs stick together. So it's kind of like a protective barrier. And then after about 2 months again, the eggs will hatch and they will just look like mini versions of the parents.
Are they quite small?
Yeah, so
I've never seen a baby snake.
Probably like that bit, which that looks pretty big, but when they're sort of wrapped up, they're quite small.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, probably about 18 centimeters if I had to estimate.
And what's the mother like with new baby snakes? Has her eggs and then she disappears, or does she look after them?
No, she doesn't look after them. So she will look after them while they're eggs. So she'll keep them warm to incubate them. And as soon as they hatch, they'll have to fend for themselves. So they'll just slither away and, fend for themselves.
Oh, wow. Oh, Naomi says, I don't have sound. I hope we do. Does everybody else have sound? Otherwise, we've been talking here for nearly 15 minutes with no sound.
I'll have to start again.
Oh, no. Let's see if, I don't know if Esme is still here. Esme, can you let us know if you have sound? Oh, that's my sister. Lisa, do I have sound? Let's just fingers crossed that we've got some sound.
Hopefully.
If someone could give me...
Oh.
I have sound. Okay, so it might just be Naomi. I'm sorry, Naomi. Hopefully, maybe try coming back in. Okay, Esme says hello and they can all hear. Lovely. It's that moment of like technical hitches.
Yeah.
So one last thing about Blaze, your snake. What's a good fun fact about snakes?
There's a few fun facts. So I'll give you one. So if you look at her head end, you'll see she's got this tongue that she flicks in and out constantly. And I don't know if she does it very fast. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see, but the tongue is fork shaped. So it splits in 2 ends. And the reason for that is it tastes the air. So when it sticks its tongue out, it will pick up the air particles. It will then bring those air particles back into its mouth. And it's got a special organ on the roof of its mouth called a Jacobson's organ. And that's essentially kind of like its nose. It helps it to smell. And the reason why they have a forked tongue is so that they can smell in 2 different directions. So rather than just having one, they can smell in both directions, and then they know which way to go if they're looking for prey or to escape a predator.
That's a talent.
It is. I wish I could do that.
Yeah, that is a bit of a talent. Amazing. Well, I think we should take a little look at your geckos.
Yeah, cool.
Because you've got geckos as well. You've got one to show us.
Yeah, I do. He's just done a big poo in his tank, so I'm going to have to avoid that, but I'll get him out there.
Well, it's okay. This is live. While you're getting your gecko out, I've got a funny story about... I say funny story. So I also have pet tortoises, and then we have a family tortoise called Topsy, and then we, my boyfriend and I, we have a tortoise called Jermaine. And when Jermaine entered the family, there was a point where I was moving house, so I couldn't house my tortoise Jermaine, and so he went and joined my older tortoise, who is a female. And our female tortoise had never laid eggs before, ever. And it was, I think, 2 years ago that there was this one, I think it was about end of summer. So they start to go and get ready to nest end of summer. And she laid an egg. And we were like, oh no, like, because she was acting so weird for about 2 weeks or so. So we went crazy, but I think she laid 3 eggs in the end. But they call it a clutch, don't they? So
Yeah.
each time they lay a clutch of eggs. And so she did 3 clutches, but only had 1 in each clutch.
Okay.
And so we decided to incubate these eggs and try and fertilize them, because she didn't do anything with them. She just left them there. But unfortunately, nothing came of it. But we think it's because obviously Jermaine is a Herman, and Topsy is a Herman and Jermaine is a spur thigh. So they are 2 different breeds, and that would be quite the hybrid, I think, if that ever was to happen. So I think it's a good thing it didn't happen. But yeah, it was all very exciting in our household for a couple of months, like fingers crossed that we were going to get these little tortoises. So but you have some eggshells, don't you, from the geckos?
I do, yeah. Would you like to see that first, or the gecko?
Let's see the geckos while you've got them.
Well, he actually doesn't have a name, but he's a crested gecko. So they can jump pretty well,
really?
so I'm trying to sort of face him towards you. But yeah, so he's about 2 years old. They can get a bit bigger, but it's quite big.
Oh my goodness. I wasn't expecting him to be so big, to be honest.
Oh really? Yeah, they can get a little bit bigger.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. And the colours as well. Do they tend to vary in colour?
They do, yeah. There's lots of different types. He's sort of, I don't know what you'd call this, but sort of like creamy on top. And you can get ones that are called Dalmatian colour, and obviously that means they're spotty, so they've got little black spots. You can get red ones, you can get all sorts. But yeah, I like it. It's got quite dark sides.
So how come is it that you haven't named him yet?
I'm just really rubbish to come up with names. I can't decide.
Whoever's in the chat now,
yeah.
Let's have a few name suggestions and see if we can come up with a name. Is it a boy?
We can't really tell at this age, so I'm saying a boy.
So we need a unisex name,
if possible.
Well, that was the same thing with my tortoise. We thought when we got him, we thought it was a her, and it was called Jemima. And so then when we found out that he was a boy, we called him Jermaine.
I think it's really hard to tell if a reptile is a boy or a girl. Same with the snakes. It's really hard.
So how do you tell? How do you tell with geckos?
With geckos, so if once they get to a certain age, the male will have I don't know how to word this, but like two large things under his tail.
Okay.
And so yeah, it's really easy to tell they're a male, and if they don't have that, they're obviously a female. Snakes is a lot harder because all their stuff is internal, but you can sort of guess by the length of their tail. So that's a good fact I could have said actually, but so the tail obviously isn't the whole body. It's about 4 inches at the end.
Oh, right.
Just after their bum is the tail.
Okay.
But with the gecko, you can obviously see where their tail is.
Yeah. And then with tortoises, it's if they've either got 2 little spurs at the back. I mean, that's down. I think that's just the spur thighs, right?
Yeah. Well, as far as I know.
And then their tails are either short and like stumpy, or they have a long curled tail, and the short ones are females and the longer ones are the males.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah. And also there's a underneath the shell, males tend to have like it's a bit concave, so it like curves inwards a little bit. But yeah, you're right as well.
Oh yeah, that's right. When you pick them up, you can feel it goes under a little bit.
Yeah.
We've got so far. Lexi said Jerry. That would be a good boy or girl.
And George, I like George.
Yeah.
I did have a dog called George.
You have?
Yeah, used to. Um, yeah, there's loads of cool facts about these guys. So I'm hoping he's going to do it because it's really, really cool. But you might notice they don't actually have his face in the wrong way, but they don't actually have any eyelids. So that's quite unusual for lizards because snakes don't have eyelids either. And normally that's the way to tell if it's a snake or a lizard. So lots of people, when you say what's the difference between a lizard or a snake, they'll say legs, obviously. And most cases that's right. Snakes don't have legs, but there are some legless lizards. It's jumped. There. You have to have quick reactions with these. But
You're facing the right way now, though.
Yeah, there we go. So it's actually the eyelids, but there are exceptions to everything, and these guys don't have any eyelids. So, but they still need to blink. They still need to clean their eyeballs. So what they do is they have a really long tongue. You might do it now, and they lick their eyeballs with that tongue. They stop now.
I'm really hoping it's going to happen.
I'll keep him there in case he does it. But yeah, that's that. And they're called crested geckos because, again, if you look around their eyes, they've got these little spikes. And so another name for them is the eyelash gecko because they look a bit like eyelashes. It's got really good eyelashes.
Great eyelashes.
Yeah.
I think it might end up being Jerry. I know there's a few people still on
Jerry?
here. So if you've got some names, we need some options here. But Lexi is winning with the name game.
I like how I don't have a say in this.
I know, yeah, that's it. Yeah, we're naming him.
Yeah.
I didn't even think to ask, really.
No, that's fine. What else to say? Oh, another cool thing.
Okay.
So geckos, some geckos, including this one, are called arboreal, which means they like to climb. And this means they're really good at sticking onto things. So you might notice that he's sticking onto my hand. Even though I've got a flat hand going vertically, he's got no trouble clinging on. And a lot of people think that's because they've got sticky feet, but that's not actually the case. What it is really, really, really small hairs on the bottom of their feet, and these create little Van der Waals forces, they're called. So it works a little bit like Velcro. So the small hairs on their feet will stick to particles of whatever surface it's trying to climb up.
That's amazing. You know you're going to see all of these facts in my video next week. Because I feel like now that I'm getting the real information from someone, I'm just going to be quoting you. And by the way, Yussef said, that's amazing. And you would never think about those sort of things as well, and how they're like, because a lot of all lizards can climb up these walls as well. So tell me about lizards that don't have legs then. How does that work for them?
So they're a bit different. Obviously, They look a bit different for starters. We do actually have some in this country. Really? You might have heard of slow worms.
Oh, no way. Is that?
Yes, they're a type of lizard. And they don't have any legs. So a lot of people think they're snakes because they kind of do look like snakes because they're just long body with a reptile head. But yeah, they're lizards. So there's a few differences. One being the forked tongue. So snakes all have that forked tongue that I was talking about earlier, but lizards don't. So slow worms and other legless lizards which have a normal tongue like his. I don't know if you can see it yet. And also the eyeballs, like I was saying before. So they don't have those eyelids. And also they have different eyeballs themselves. So can you see how he's got like a... You can't really see it on this camera, but his eyeballs
ever so slightly.
Sort of a slit. Some geckos have different kind of eyes. Some are completely black. Some are sort of like triangular pupils. So that's another way you can tell the difference, really. And the diet. So snakes always eat other meat. So snakes are carnivores. There's no snake that will eat anything else other than meat. But lizards, they have a wide range of things. So these guys, crested geckos, they are insectivores, which means they eat insects, and they're also frugivores, which means they eat fruit. Oh. So they like a mixed diet.
I don't think I've ever heard of those words.
Yeah, well, there's some new ones for you.
That is some new ones. I'm learning so much. We've got some names here then. Okay. I've got, is that Gex, I guess? And Hero, that's nice.
That's nice.
Taylor, Jerry and George. So there's quite a few names there. I think Hero's nice. Or, I mean, this is your gecko.
No, you go for it. I'm not very good at naming.
Yeah, and Lexi just said, never knew about slow worms. Me neither, Lexi. That is insane. I can't believe... I used to pick those up when I was little. I used to actually lift up... there used to be some woods around the back of our houses, and they used to have random paving slabs in those woods, and I would just lift them up, and there would be a few slow worms under there, and I would just pick them up. I don't know if
I've never even seen a slow worm in the wild.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, that's really lucky. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they were so hard to come by.
Yeah. I think it depends what part of the country you're in. But yeah, they're quite rare.
Well,
I don't know
down in
if you guys.
Portsmouth.
Yeah, obviously not. I don't know if you guys watching saw that, but he did actually just lick his eyeball a
Oh,
second
I
ago.
missed it because I was talking.
He might do it again.
That's typical me,
Right.
chatterbox.
Oh, there's
Oh,
his tongue. Go on.
go on. Maybe it's because he's getting excited. We're going to give him a name.
Maybe it's too much excitement.
Okay, I'll do an announcement afterwards. We'll have a chat about
Yeah.
which is going to be the best name.
Yeah.
I'll have to write them down. So we've got Hero. We had
Jerry.
Was it Gex?
Gex, yeah.
Gex is good.
Yeah, I
And
like Gex, yeah.
Hayley. Oh, and George.
And George,
Okay.
yeah.
So there are names. Shall we have a look at these eggs that you have?
Yeah.
The shells, I should say.
So there's nothing inside them now. They've already hatched. But this is actually his brother's eggshell. But this is what he would have hatched out as.
That's so small.
You can see it's grown quite a bit since then. And if I turn that egg around, you can see there's a little slit where he actually come out of the egg.
Oh yeah.
See that?
Yeah. If you bring that up a little bit to your little, that's it. Yeah, then you'll be able to see it.
Yeah. So yeah, they're really small when they hatch, obviously. Although, having said that, they still look a lot bigger than the egg. So they're really tightly packed inside the egg. And then they hatch out, and they just look like mini versions of the adults. And they will start hunting for themselves straight away. And what I was saying before about the baby snakes slithering away from the adults, geckos also have to do this because sometimes the adult geckos will try and eat the babies. So yeah, they have to fend for themselves from predators and also from their parents. So
well, you don't want to be on the wrong side of your parents if you're a gecko then.
No, you don't, definitely not.
And do they come when they're hatched, do they come out with their legs or do they grow them more?
No, they come out. So yeah, I know what you're thinking. So you're thinking like how frogs do it. But
yeah.
No, lizards look exactly like this with their legs, just a smaller version.
Interesting. I love that. Amazing. And how long do lizards fertile their eggs, like incubate their eggs for?
Depends on the species. I think it's about 2 months roughly again. Lizards will only, well, geckos like this one will only lay 2 eggs at a time. So each clutch is made up of 2 eggs, and every couple of months they will lay an egg. I don't breed them. This was just from when I got him, sorry. But yeah, so they can actually lay quite a lot of eggs in their lifetime.
Mm. And do you have to have a license to breed reptiles? Like
you don't have to breed these kind of reptiles or keep these kind of reptiles. If you want to keep dangerous reptiles, which I wouldn't recommend, so things like crocodiles, venomous snakes, then of course you need a license, which is probably for the best. But these guys, you don't need a license. But obviously make sure you've done loads of research and you know what you're doing before you get one, because they're obviously a lot different to looking after a dog or a cat.
Absolutely, yeah. Have you had much experience dealing with bigger reptiles?
Nothing too dangerous. So when I used to work in the zoo, we had a big boa constrictor who was about 10 feet long, I think, really chunky. A lot of tortoises. So there's a species of tortoise called a sulcata tortoise, which get really big. So I've worked with those. Never worked with any crocodiles, but I really want to.
Yeah, but I love the little tiny ones.
They're tiny crocodiles.
Yeah, they're quite sweet, I think.
Yeah, so there's caiman, which are sort of slightly smaller, and dwarf caiman. They are sweet, but they can still hurt. Yeah,
I'm sure they can.
They still have big teeth.
He's so still now. He's so content.
He's calmed down.
Yeah.
I mean, so these guys are actually nocturnal, so I've had to wake him up for this.
Oh, sorry.
But he doesn't mind. He'll go back to sleep afterwards.
Yeah, you had to rummage around and find them, didn't you?
Yeah, I do have another one, but I couldn't find her. She's in there somewhere.
Oh. So you have a male and a female in one.
No, they have. I don't know if we can sort of. So that's the big female up there. That's her tank, and then his little tank is down there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so
you
have to have them together.
Also, they're a different species. So he's a crested gecko, and she's a gargoyle gecko. So look a little bit different, but quite similar.
Well, I'm glad that he's okay, and we will rename him. Well, I say rename. We will name him.
Yeah,
He'll have a little naming ceremony, and I'll announce what we decide in a couple of days.
Awesome.
But how, one other question about male and female. How do you, not male and female, how do you tell them apart when you've got a lot of pets? So say you said you have different snakes and geckos or any other reptiles. They're quite hard to tell apart, like with guest colouring and things like that. But do you have a special way of knowing who's who?
So yeah, you're right. So it can depend on the colouring. So I'm quite lucky. All mine are very different. So like I said before about Blaze, she's an albino. I've got some that are not albinos, so they all look a little bit different. With the geckos, again, I've got different species, so they look a bit different. But if you did have a gecko or two geckos that look the same, then you have to get really detailed and look at the pattern. So for example, you might say that that he has a stripe going there and another one doesn't. So it can get quite tricky.
Yeah.
When you're used to them and you see them every day, you pick it up quite easily.
Yeah.
But yeah, also, I just thought of another fun fact.
Okay,
the tails. So lizards can drop their tail, and it's a defense tactic. So if I was a predator and grabbed him by the tail, he would just drop his tail.
And it would just fall off.
It would just fall off, yeah. And a lot of lizards will be able to grow that tail back. It's normally a little bit stubby. But crested geckos can't. So they just have what's called a frog bum. So they don't have a tail, they just have a little stump. Yeah, it doesn't affect them in their life. But
no. But so once they get, if a predator was to come and take their tail once, then if another predator came again, he wouldn't have that defense mechanism.
No, he wouldn't. So
wow, it's like a one life.
Yeah,
kind of moment.
It's a bit like bees with their stingers. Like they only use it as a last minute defense. But yeah.
So if they can get away, then they will.
Yeah. But yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing your gecko and snakes.
No worries.
I just want to touch on what you're doing on BUGFACE as well. How are you finding the program?
Yeah, really good. So BUGFACE is a show that I do, and it's pretty self-explanatory. We get famous people in and we have bugs on their faces. But yeah, I've met like so many cool bugs. And cool famous people too. But the bugs, yeah, the bugs are pretty cool.
How do you monitor things like that? Because they are. I mean, for me, if you put a spider on my face, I am going to squeal and be very nervous. Yeah. How do you keep the animals safe or the bugs safe?
So we only use one or two at a time. I think the most we used was 5 of these little beetles, but we keep the numbers limited so that we can always keep our eyes on them. So I'm on camera obviously doing the show, but we also do have a bug wrangler behind the scenes, so if anything went wrong, he'd be able to deal with it. There are some rules about the type of bugs we're allowed to use, because I suggested using scorpions, but that got shot down pretty fast. Nobody wanted to use scorpions.
I don't think I would want to use scorpions.
No, maybe not. But we're also not really allowed to use tarantulas because they can flick their hairs, and if they get in your eyes, it's really irritating.
Oh, right.
So we only use bugs that are not going to do any serious harm. Some of them can bite. Luckily, none of the guests got bitten. I got bitten by a couple of them, but it was nothing that really hurt, so it was all right.
No, and you don't mind handling lots of different creepy crawlies?
No, I think the camel spiders we used, that was a little bit of a challenge for me because, like I said before, spiders are not exactly my favourite. And that happened to be one of the things that bit me as well, so that didn't go down well.
Oh, really? Are they the ones that are they the scorpion-looking ones?
No, so that's the tailless whip scorpion.
Okay.
You're thinking. Camel spiders are they look a bit like spiders, but they're sort of a sandy brown colour and they're really hairy.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're not that pleasant.
I mean, there's a bug for everyone, right?
Yeah, someone's got to like them.
And you like those? You like the scorpion ones?
Yeah, the tailless whip scorpions. They look really cool.
Yeah.
They're pretty. I mean, they look really scary and really dangerous, but they can't really harm you. They're not venomous. All they can do is pinch you with those little pincers, but it doesn't really hurt too much.
Fair enough. And where do they all come from? The bugs? Do they have a special home while they're not in the studio?
So the bug wrangler, who I mentioned before, they're actually all his. So he's a bug breeder, and he provides the bugs for us and then takes them back home with him when we're done, which is quite handy because it means we don't have to have bugs constantly in the studio. And we can sort of choose which ones we want.
I bet. What about all the team, like the production team? Do some of them really not like it?
Yeah, there's quite a few that stood well back. But you'd be surprised actually. Like quite a few people, even when they're scared, once they've spent a bit of time around them, they develop an interest really quickly.
Yeah.
And then like everyone wanted to hold them. Even the guests who came on, the celebrities, a lot of them were terrified. And then by the end of it, they loved it.
Yeah, you
So,
get more intrigued, don't you? If you feel like
yeah,
you've taken one step, then you want to do another.
exactly. Yeah.
It's
So
good. It's good.
fun to see that.
It's making everybody mindful that these creepy crawlies aren't here to hurt us, and it's a way of life, and we all
Exactly.
live on this planet together.
Yeah, and we need them. They play important roles in the ecosystem, so we can't really live without them. Things like bees, for example, we definitely need.
Yeah, definitely. Yussef, it's been amazing. Thank you so much for chatting to me today.
No worries. Thank you for having me. Us.
Yes.
All of
So
us.
you can put all your geckos and your snakes to rest now and say
Yeah.
that Rachel doesn't need you anymore.
Let them go back to sleep.
Yeah, bless them. Thank you so much for joining me
No
today.
worries. Thank you for having me.
And I will see you so soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. I'm so excited that happened. Thank you so much, everyone that joined. I will pop this on my IGTV so you can enjoy it many more times. And I will see you in a few, whenever. I will be posting a new video of 5 fun facts about reptiles. And Yussef has given me quite a few ideas to put in there as well. So I'll make sure that they're involved. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye. Have a good day. Thanks, everyone.